So in this video, what I want to be talking about is I'm going to be kind of going over what I learned from the book Millionaire Fastlane, the book I was talking about in a video I made last week. And I'm going to be going over the different pathways of life that the author talked about in that book. Now, I was a little hesitant to make this video because one of these pathways is going to put you on a much faster track to, I guess, get ahead in life, as one may say, but I don't want anyone to get offended if they don't have a desire to pursue this fast track, or if they enjoy living in one of the lanes that aren't this fast track lane that we're going to talk about at the end of this video. Because at the end of the day, just because you might not be on this fast track, it doesn't mean that it's 100% correct. It might not be for everyone. It might not be for you. I am just recapping what I learned in this book because it really is one of the books that changed the way I think, and it's one of the books that I can definitely see myself rereading a couple of different times over the years. But before we get on this topic of the three different pathways, I really want to talk about wealth for a second. And I feel like a lot of people look at wealth, those people that are really wealthy, they look at them as they just got lucky, that they just fell into the right situation at the right time, that's not sustainable, they're bad people, etc., etc., etc. And I personally view this as a very fixed scarcity mindset, and it's not necessarily something that I overall agree with all of the time, I guess you could say. The way I like to look at wealth is everyone has a different pathway to wealth if they so choose. Everyone has the opportunity to get on a path to be wealthy. And the thing is, there isn't a specific road that people will go on to be wealthy. It's more of a road trip. And I think what another thing people really think about when it comes to wealth is there's no way to get rich fast or get rich quick. And I find this a little counterintuitive because I think people have a misconception of what get rich quick is. Now, if you're looking to get rich quick on January 20th, 2022, and you're giving yourself to the end of the day to become rich and wealthy, overall, that most likely will not work out in your favor unless you win Powerball or whatever the case may be. And if that happens to you, then congratulations. But it's very possible for you to get rich quick if you put the quick timeline in the frame of 10 plus years or so, which would definitely fall into the category of getting rich quick. What I don't think people understand is that the real phrase should be get rich easy. And in that case, it's nearly impossible to get rich easy. Again, unless you are just, the lucky number the Powerball falls to and you end up winning tens of millions of dollars just like that, or even hundreds of millions of dollars or more in some cases, which is a very, 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 very small percentage, then it's going to be almost impossible for you to get rich easy. But it's a scary thing that people really believe that you can't get rich in general and you can't get rich quick. And I really view this, like I said earlier, as a very fixed mindset, and I don't agree with it at all, because it means that your future is essentially decided before you even start to pursue it. When at the end of the day, when you decide which road and road trip that you want to take, you are ultimately the one driving the car, and you have to decide how fast that car wants to go and where you want it to go. And at the end of the day, that's ultimately going to be your decision, because that's what it is at the end of the day. It's ultimately your path, and you're deciding where you want to go and what you want to do. And you shouldn't be blaming other people for the path you're taking, because you can always pivot and make a change and do something completely different. So anyway, getting into it, and the first pathway that's discussed in the book Millionaire Fastlane, and this pathway is unfortunately one that a lot of people take, and it's one that I really wish a lot of people did not take, but I see a lot of people take. And this lane leads ultimately to a life of poorness and poverty. And this lane is the sidewalk. So people that take the lane of the sidewalk, these are the type of people that live to pay down debt because they put themselves in astronomical amounts of debt. That's the only reason they work. Any money they have, they believe in spending it immediately. They don't believe in emergency fund. They don't really believe in investments. They believe that they could die tomorrow, so they need to spend every single dollar they have today. If you can save $50 a paycheck, why don't you just spend $50? Because who knows what is going to happen to you? These are also the type of people who feel like they need to impress others. They need to have the biggest house. They need to have the nicest car. They need to make sure everyone's constantly entertained 24/7 and that people look at them as they are something great, when in reality they could very well be struggling for money in a lot of different ways. Now, to elaborate a little bit more on that, not too much because I don't want this video to be overly long, but aside from the people in this lane being bad with money, for lack of a better phrase, again, I don't want to offend anyone watching this video because this video is simply me summarizing what I learned in this book and kind of giving my 2 cents on it. But in addition to being bad with money, these people are also people that don't necessarily have a sense of time. Like I mentioned before, a lot of people in this situation or in this lane, they don't believe in saving money for the long term, and they think that they could die tomorrow. They don't think if I save a little bit of money every single paycheck or every single day, I could create wealth over the long term. They simply believe that that's not even worth it because you never know what is going to happen over the short term, so you might as well live life in the present moment, which I am all for, but as we've talked about so many times on this channel, it might be worth considering some long-term investments for your future. These type of people in this lane also refuse to learn. They don't believe in learning. They don't believe in educating themselves, whether that's through books, online courses, making themselves more valuable, whatever the case may be. They believe that learning was done in school. They believe that they went to school. They believe that they should go to work, come home, party, watch TV, whatever the case may be, and just simply be entertained when they don't have to function at their 9-to-5 job or whatever hours that they are working. And speaking of job, the people in this lane also believe that the best job that they can work is one that pays the most. They don't care about passions or satisfaction or anything like that. If one job pays 100 grand and the other one pays 60 grand, the 100 grand job is always 100% of the time the better one to take. And if you even consider taking the $60,000 job, regardless of happiness or anything else, you are a fool and it's not worth it at all. And if you couldn't tell, these type of people in this lane also believe that anyone that believes in getting rich, getting wealthy, working hard, etc., or just helping exponentially grow their wealth, ultimately those type of people got lucky. Now, there's a few scary things that come with this lane that I've really thought about. First and foremost, the scary thing is that you're completely blind to money. You're completely blind to investing, learning, all of these different things, all these things that could really turn your life around in a lot of different ways. People just don't care about in this lane. They don't even want to hear it. They just want to almost be satisfied with where they are, and they want their lifestyle to be very fixed, not grow linearly or exponentially. Another scary thing about this lane is it's never gonna matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter if you make 50 grand, 100 grand, 250 grand, $1 million. It doesn't matter what your salary is because you're completely blind to money. So if you go ahead and make more money, at the end of the day, you're just going to spend more money. You're going to be a prime victim of lifestyle inflation. So as your salary goes up, your expenses will go up too. So you'll constantly be living paycheck to paycheck, which honestly is very sad, unless you enjoy living like that, which I apologize if you do. But from my experience, most people do not like living like that, and most people do not like stressing over money in this sort of way. And the scariest thing about people in this lane is that a lot of them don't even realize that they're in this lane. They don't realize that they're blind to money. They don't realize that they can make a change. They don't realize any of these things. And even if someone brought it to their attention, at the end of the day, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to be aware of it. They simply want to be where they are and be satisfied with that. The second pathway we're going to talk about on this list is the slow lane, which basically states that you're sacrificing today for a better tomorrow. This is also a pathway a lot of people take. Unfortunately, not as many people take this pathway. Much more people take the sidewalk pathway, but these people are kind of in the middle here. We have the sidewalkers over here, then we have the slow laners, and then we have the other mindset people, the third criteria bullet point on this list that we're going to talk about in a minute here. So the slow laners, like I just said, are kind of in the middle. They believe in going to school, getting a job, paying off your student loans, and then continue to work at that job or continue to find a new job for the next 40 or 50 years, continuing to see that 3% salary increase, which is essentially wiped out by inflation every year, so you're really never making any more money. Live life for the weekends and continue to invest 10% of your check into your 401k, your IRA, into an S&P 500 fund. If you even know what that is, most people just blindly invest it into a 401k, and most people don't realize what their 401k is invested in, which is kind of scary because that's all a lot of people have for investment portfolios. But that's beside the point. And again, they do that for so many years, and then they get to the point where they're 60 or 70, or in this day and age, sometimes even older, maybe 80 years old, and then they can have a few years of freedom to themselves before eventually their time comes. Now, the issue with this lane is that everything is essentially capped. You can't go to your employer and demand a 50% pay increase. Imagine walking into your boss's office and say you're making $50,000 and you want to say, I would like a raise to $75,000. He's going to be like,
whoa, that doesn't make any sense. That's not happening.
Or in other words, you can't exponentially grow your salary. Like I just said, you can't go from making $50,000 and just triple that the next year. Even if you're working harder, it's just almost impossible unless you get some crazy promotion or whatever the case may be. If you're lucky and you're a very average employee, you're going to be able to grow your salary from a linear perspective, but exponentially is almost definitely out of the question. Time also really blends together in this lane because you're so set on performing the best you can at your job. You don't even realize that 5, 10, or 15 years have gone by working 40 plus hours at a place you really are not a fan of, and you haven't done anything that you wanted to do in your 20s or in your 30s, as all this time has just essentially disappeared out of thin air. But one of the biggest issues I personally see with this lane is that you're continuously trading your time for money. Now you might be like, well, what else am I supposed to do? Well, look at it this way. Say you make $20 an hour, right? You make $20 an hour, and say you work 40 hours a week, but you want to make more money. And this is a job where you can work overtime, extra hours, whatever the case may be. So you can work more hours, so you start to work 45, so you start to work 50 hours, so you start to work 60 hours, and you're still making $20 an hour. Well, eventually what's going to happen is you're eventually going to run out of hours that you can work, and you're probably going to get burnt out. Maybe you won't get burnt out by some miracle, but at the end of the day, you are going to run out of hours eventually. Even if you're working 100-hour weeks, eventually there are only so many hours in a week that you can work. And actually, ironically enough, I feel like this lifestyle is a little more sustainable and is more on the okay side if you're single, like especially if you're young and in your 20s, or if you're married and you don't have kids. But you're going to get to a certain point, I feel like, and I've thought about this and I've noticed this, you're going to get to a certain point where maybe you have a family, you're married, and you do have kids, and you have mouths to feed, and you can't exponentially grow your salary, and you can barely linearly grow it like we talked about because of inflation. And it's just going to be really difficult to save and invest money because, you know, your kids would like to eat. Maybe they also want to start getting into sports. Maybe they want to go out sometimes and you want to give them money. It's going to be a lot harder, especially when you're working off of that finite amount of money. Granted, everyone has a finite amount of money, but yours will even be more finite because you're capped by your salary and you can't just work harder to make exponentially more amounts of money. And I feel like this just kind of leads to more of a scarcity mindset because you can't continue to grow in different ways and you can't branch out and do different things to make more money, because your job is a very, like I've said a couple of times in this video already, a very capped resource, and you can only make so much and do so much. And what's going to happen when you do this is it's not going to push you to go outside your comfort zone and find ways to make more money, and it's also not going to push you to be a better person and make you the best person that you can be. Now, the last pathway we're going to talk about on this list is more of a business pathway, and this reverts back to the pathway I talked about at the beginning of the video, where you can get rich really quick, which if you consider quick being 10 years, and this is the fast lane. Someone who is in the fast lane, they really have that more of a producer mindset that I've talked about in previous videos, as opposed to a consumer mindset. The fast lane really revolves around freedom, exponentially growing your wealth, and just focusing on building things and becoming a better person, rather than focusing on how I can get an extra 3% added to my salary this year. I don't feel like I need to go too into depth with this one, because I've made so many videos in the past about why you should consider starting some sort of business or side hustle, how that is a very scalable source of income as opposed to a job, which is a very capped source of income. But there is one really important thing I want to talk about really quickly about the fast lane, and it's arguably the most important part of the fast lane, and that is the fact that you can use controllable unlimited leverage. And basically what controllable unlimited leverage is it's allows you to put systems in place to grow your wealth. It allows you to put systems in place to become free and not be chained down to a regular job as an employee and be at the mercy of your employer. It also allows you to create your own environment and dictate it the way you want it to be, so that way you can see the type of success that you want to see, whether that's monetarily or just satisfaction wise, or whatever the case may be, however you perceive success. In other words, to really summarize the fast lane is someone who sees something, has a vision for something, and says, I want to do that. I want to become this. This is possible. I'm going to go do it. As opposed to sitting back and saying, that's going to take some luck. Oh, what if I did that? Maybe tomorrow, etc., etc. Now, if you guys want, I can do a full video just on the fast lane in itself and all the benefits that come with it, but I didn't think it was necessary, especially because this video is already getting a little bit long. But I wanted to wrap up this video talking about what it would really take to move up a lane, whether that's from the sidewalk to the fast lane, sidewalk to the slow lane to the fast lane, whatever the case may be. And to be perfectly honest, and this is probably going to come as a shock to a lot of you, I'm being sarcastic, it all starts with your mindset. You actually have to believe that you can do all of these things. You have to actually believe that you can start some sort of business and scale your wealth exponentially. You have to believe that that product or service they are offering will scale. You have to really dictate how you are going to set yourself aside from the competition and do your own thing and scale that. And I think the scary thing that a lot of people have when it comes to this, and this might sound slightly counterintuitive, but a lot of people think they have to reinvent the wheel. Unless you're creating something like an Amazon, for example, or anything along those lines, chances are that whatever you're going to start or build has already been done to some degree before. So you don't need to necessarily, at least this is how I look at it, start 100% from scratch. You can very, very easily essentially copy what someone else did to a certain degree. You obviously can't copy the entire project, and put your own spin on it. For example, say you wanted to start some sort of coffee company, just for example here. Well, obviously coffee companies have been founded many times over, so you can do all the research on how to find a coffee company and then put your own spin on it. Or if you wanted to start even smaller, say you wanted to start a YouTube channel. You want to start a YouTube channel and you want to grow it to tens of thousands of subscribers. Well, there's tons and tons of YouTube channels out there. You're not the first one that ever got on YouTube. So start making YouTube videos and then find a way to put your own spin on it, so your content is more organic and original, and it's content that people can only get from your type of channel. But that's obviously something that has to come from you. I hope all this made sense. I hope you guys got a lot of value out of this video. I really hope this video was more of a mindset shifter, because that is what I was going for in this video. If you guys did get any value out of it, make sure to drop a like on the video. Make sure to subscribe for more videos like this. Let me know what you thought of this video down in the comments, and let me know if you want to see a video with more in-depth detail pertaining to the Fastlane mindset, because I kind of would like to make a full video on it, but this video is already getting kind of long, and like I've already said, I've talked about it in a number of different videos. So again, let me know if you guys want to see that, and I will see you guys in the next video.